Hey everybody, and welcome to DraftKings. My name's Ty Atkins, I'm your host. This is it. The summer is pretty much over. The new Premier League is round the corner. We're all super excited, and so, joining me today, I've got three of the most handsome pundits you can find. Got old golden boy Andy Davies there, Edo Delamonte, and Jamie Hinks. We are going to be talking about the season to come, teams to look out for, players to look out for, and some of the nasty things as well. Who might be dropping out the league? Who's going to come top four? Who's going to be the first manager to lose their job? All these things, all these exciting topics we're going to cover. We're going to start with Edo. Edo, I trust you had a good summer?
Yes.
Fantastic. Let's talk about the Premier League. Who's the teams to look for this year? If we had to boil, say, 7 teams that we all think that probably could do very, very well, who would be the top 4 and why?
Okay, so my top 4 is a tad controversial, simply because I actually have Chelsea doing reasonably well. I have Liverpool, I think, doing quite well. I'm not actually going to put Man United in my top 4. I'm putting Manchester City coming into the top 4, and I think Tottenham will actually come away with a title, rather controversially. And that's a little surprise I had just installed just for you, Mr. Davies. I know.
I had a
insanity. We begin with insanity, sheer insanity, but it's true. I have so many good reasons for that. Beyond that, if you want me to get more specific about why I think Tottenham will win, or do you want me to sort
I want to. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I really want to hear this.
I just have major question marks about all of the teams at the top, really. So if you look at it in order of who the betting markets have winning this, so you've got City in first place, generally you've got United, then I believe you have Chelsea. I have major questions about all 3 teams. Guardiola, for example, I'm not exactly sure that he's going to be this absolute huge impact everybody's expecting him to. So it looked like City had won the race for Europe's hottest manager when they got him back in December, essentially. But then Bayern went and got Ancelotti, who I would actually argue would have been a better choice for City. Guardiola's tactical formations, is he a bit too stubborn? Does he always do the same thing? He's got an ageing defence. He's got an ageing central midfield as well, to a certain extent. You may want someone else on that right wing. Tottenham, on the other hand, have a coach who's got a tried and tested system. He's only made 2 buys because all the players really know each other. They know each other very well. You've got a really good goalkeeper, the best central defensive partnership in the league with Alderweireld and Vertonghen. You've got effective fullbacks. You've got Harry Kane, of course, last year's top scorer. And if he gets tired, you've got Vincent Janssen, who could actually be really interesting. And in fact, Jamie identified him as a potential pickup for this year's DraftKings players because, and I completely agree, he was monstrous in the Eredivisie last year. You've got Wanyama, Dembele as a midfield partnership. You've got Eriksen in front of him. Credit to Tottenham for not ditching a lot of these buys made in the last 3-4 years. You put Lamela and Shadley there. One of them, I hope, will step it up and actually become a consistent player. You got Ali on the other hand. And their April fixtures. So in April, where title challenges tend to flop, last year it would have been Arsenal, for example. Tottenham will be playing Burnley, Swansea, Watford, Bournemouth and Leicester City in April, and we'll play Arsenal and United only a little bit later.
We're going to shit their bed.
That's a horrible group of fixtures with Spurs.
No, I'm only because I'm really loving what you're saying, and I have to temper myself because you're getting me excited, Edo. I've got to say, it seems you've done a hell of a lot of research on Tottenham Hotspur, to the point of almost perverse voyeurism, I would say. That's how it seems. But I make you right in the sense that there's 2 teams that consistency is going to be key, and that's Tottenham and Arsenal. I mean, they're going into next season with pretty much an established squad and established management, where all these other teams are, well, let's say their closest rivals, a lot of changes. So, Jamie, what do you say to this?
I think Spurs will make the top 4. I don't think they've got it in them to win the league. I just would point to last season when they just...
Came third in a 2-horse race, as people...
That's true. That's very Tottenham.
They play very good football, but they started off really badly last season, finished really badly last season. Quite a few of their players had really bad Euros. People like Ali, Kane. I know people say they weren't played in the right position, but Harry Kane looked such a shadow of his former self. Coming off the back of 2 excellent seasons, I don't think he's going to be bad in the Premier League. I just don't think they're going to win the league. I think Man City, people are going to have to do a lot to stop City because they've still got the best striker in the league, Sergio Aguero. They've still probably got a couple of the best players in terms of assists that people want to pick up on DraftKings. You've got De Bruyne and Silva. People kind of forget about Silva just because De Bruyne's so effective. And then they've added players that Nolito's going to probably be a squad player for them. And he was really impressive in the Euros, did really well for Celta last season. The one problem, obviously, is the back 4. But I think beyond De Gea, Man United's back four isn't great. Spurs is very good, but you get hit with one injury, two injuries there, and it goes to pieces a little bit. And Arsenal are just Arsenal. He won't buy a top-level defender for some reason. I don't know why. They've been Mertesacker out for 4 months, so they're going to have to play Gabriel, who's okay, but nothing special. Chelsea, I don't think will be there yet this season. Leicester, I'm completely discounting. Because they haven't. Last season, it was almost 38 games, and that was it for them. You've seen teams in the past do that. The year that Liverpool almost won it, it was a 38-game season. That's the one thing with Chelsea. They've only got 38 games, but they've still got these combustible personalities in there that could. We don't know how Conte's going to do. He's never managed in the Premier League before. But yeah, I think I'd go City, United, Arsenal, Spurs as my top four. Wow. Quite comfortable about that.
Well, everyone's talking about your team, Andy. How about you not talk about them till?
I'll save it. I'll save it till we're going to do our talk about our team.
Yeah, at some point we're going to be talking about our individual teams. Top four as you see it, Andrew.
It's for me. I think City are going to win it. It's a funny one. I've been thinking about the top four for a few days, just trying to work out, trying to piece it together, and. There's 6 to 7 teams who can go into the top 4, and they don't. You can't. I've checked the maths. You can't fit 6 into 4. Manchester United could go either way. They're either going to be an absolute circus with Mourinho and Ibrahimovic, and are they going to spend 100 million on Paul Pogba, which seems ridiculous for a decent player, but he's not a £100 million player. But they could, just have a procession to the title, or we could find out that Ibrahimovic and Mourinho are busted flushes, and it could all be an absolute, clusterfuck by November.
Oh, so good.
That'd be great. I mean, I think for Chelsea fans as well, you can see that happening. This is great. Yeah, we've got rid of him just in time. I could see Liverpool doing very well. I could see Arsenal doing well. I can see everyone, and I can also see Spurs doing well. I'm not putting Spurs in the top 4 just out of pure fatalism, because I never do. When we finish in the top 4, it's always a surprise. I think when we're expected to finish in the top 4, we never do. But I'll talk about Spurs later. My top 4 is the 2 Manchester clubs, Arsenal, and I've got a feeling Chelsea are going to sneak in there. It's not a nice feeling. I've just got a feeling Chelsea, because of the 38-game season, and they have got a very combustible squad, but they've also got a very good squad. And I think that Conte can do enough to galvanise them and get them over the line. But that's my top 4.
I think the interesting thing, even about Liverpool, I looked at how many players they've still got. There are so many players there. And they don't have any Europe this season to play all of them in. So I'm interested, like the midfielders at the moment was Coutinho, Henderson, Lallana, Markovic, Mane, Lucas, Chan, Wijnaldum. They haven't got rid of any of them. Striker plays one up front, and he's got
some of the youth guys to Bournemouth.
Yeah, but they weren't going to play anyway. The strikers is Firmino, Benteke, Origi, Ings, Sturridge, Balotelli. And he plays one up front. This has the makings of people getting very annoyed very quickly if they don't get sold. Yeah. And that could have a huge effect on what happens in terms of Liverpool maybe getting in the top 4.
And I also don't think even if you trim that squad down, they're good enough to get.
No, they're not. Of course not. But the only thing would be if I'd maybe get behind Klopp in terms of him being able to get the most out of them.
Well, this was another thing I was going to bring up from last season. With this season, what we're going to see is a kind of clash of cultures, where last season was all about coaching, with Ranieri doing well and with Pochettino doing well at Spurs. And this year, because of the money that's come in, it seems to be we've got another arms race on our hand, and whether that's going to affect it, or I mean, Leicester could. Ranieri might have a bit of magic forward. Leicester, we're discounting Leicester. They are the league champions.
I am going to jump in here with just that. Leicester City won the league last year when a lot of people had them going down. Are we round this table? Are we absolutely discounting them from top 4, maybe even top 6? For
me, they've lost an irreplaceable player in Kante, and if they lose Mahrez as well, I don't know. It's like the things we say about Southampton every summer, but just 6 places further up the league. I mean, Southampton sell their best players every summer and incrementally get one position better. Leicester have sold, arguably their best player last season, and it looks like Mahrez might be going as well. Yeah. But they could.
Southampton have this wonderful ethos at the top. So even managers are recruited to fill a position in terms of philosophy. Leicester, I'm not so sure. I know it's going to be
Europe
very
Europe is the thing that worries me with Leicester. I just think
the loss of Steve Walsh as well is going to be huge.
Yeah, and they've bought a lot of players, but most, I mean, I'd never heard of Nampalys Mendy before they bought him.
Had we heard of Kante though?
Yeah.
No, we hadn't heard of Kante.
You are a European expert.
No. As in, no.
Sorry,
you've not heard of Semende? You've not heard of him?
Huh? Sorry?
You've not heard of him?
No, I must have missed the boat on that one.
Oh, right. I don't know him either.
No one. But likewise, no one had heard of Kante.
No, it's true.
But Steve Walsh, a top scout, he's gone to Everton now. That could be a big loss. Right. So in summary, then, guys, we're all saying Man City will be in the top 4. You think Tottenham may win it. You don't think Tottenham will be in the top 4. So it could be anyone's.
I had them in the top 4. It was Andy that doesn't have them in the top 4.
Right. So you've got the 2 North Londons and the
I've got
2
City winning it, and then I don't know what the next
2
three will be.
Manchesters and the 2 North Londons.
Yeah.
Very obvious. Very obvious.
I think we all agree that City are going to win it. We don't know who else is going to finish in the top 4 because it really could.
Yeah, that's very true.
I think the Klopp factor will come in. I personally.
I think that's what makes this season so exciting is the complete. It's completely unpredictable. And again, Guardiola could be found out, and Manchester City could be awful.
Exactly.
Right. So talking about exciting, let's move on to the players. Then we talked about the clubs. Players to look out for. We've got a whole swarm of new players coming to the new season. It's financially the biggest season yet. It's going to be massive. Who's the players to look out for? I mean, not just necessarily gems, guys, just anyone. Andy.
I can't wait to see how Zlatan gets on. It's going to be hilarious. We enjoyed it during the Euros, a frustrated Zlatan suddenly up against decent defenders, not being able to do anything. If this happens week in, week out, and it could be the funniest thing we've seen in a while. But again, it's Zlatan. He could be incredible. We've finally got an actual bona fide global superstar in the league for the first time since Ronaldo. Mm-hmm. And it's really exciting to have. And I know he's playing for Man United. I know we're all going to hate him for that. But it's Zlatan. It's going to be fun.
He is approaching middle age as well, which is a shame. But still, an aging Zlatan is still.
You wouldn't say that to his face.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say it to his face at all.
Is he going to have a midlife crisis?
It's possible. It's more
This is his midlife crisis. It's the Premier League.
Oh, that's Is this his MLS? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Edo, player to watch, please.
I'm very excited about Henrik Mkhitaryan for Man United because he's absolutely phenomenal. And it's quite funny, actually, that Jurgen Klopp didn't get the best out of him when they were at Borussia Dortmund together. And it took Thomas Tuchel's arrival to actually really propel him on the international stage, basically. Everyone knew who he was and everybody wanted him. But that second season at Borussia made him. I mean, he's an absolute demon. I'm not so confident about Man United per se, but I think he could actually be that attacking midfielder that they were lacking, because having Rooney play back there, Ander Herrera plays deeper than that. Marwan Fellaini is Marwan.
They've not had a player to unlock, have they? And they've probably got it here.
And he could be that guy. I have rather more questions about the rest of their midfield and their defence, as we've mentioned before, but I think that he'll shine no matter what, really, because Mourinho likes to work with a player like that. I mean, he's done it at Chelsea, but obviously at Real, and then at Inter, he always had some sort of special player. Inter, he had Wesley Sneijder. So, yeah, I do think that he'll have an important role and spectacular player. I'm looking forward to it, even though, obviously, I do not like Man United. It will be a pleasure to see him.
So we're assuming Pogba's joined as well?
The whole... I mean... Yeah, if we assume, I would still actually back Mkhitaryan to have a better season than Pogba.
Well, there's an argument. I read a letter by a Chelsea fan, an open letter to Man United.
Yes, we came right.
Saying, are you looking forward to Mourinho turning Paul Pogba into the world's most expensive John Obi Mikel?
Oh.
Just, the most exciting. Because when Obi Mikel joined Chelsea, he was the most exciting attacking midfielder. Other than Messi. And suddenly he became John Obi Mikel.
Second only to Messi, yeah, that's true.
Very good at being John Obi Mikel now, though, interestingly.
He is very good at being.
Very good at that job.
Guys,
Hiddink loves him.
Going to have to do what you, Jamie the player.
I was going to say Mkhitaryan, but I'm going to go Michy Batshuayi. I'm quite interested to see how well he gets on up front with Costa, because even though he scored all these goals in Liga,
and get on with Costa.
Well, this is exactly interesting. Maybe not the best, but he actually got quite a lot of assists last season, Batshuayi, for Marseille, and I think that them two together, and with Hazard as well, who I'm fully expecting to be better than he was last season, which isn't saying much, but like he did have a good Euros. Those three together could really, especially with this short season that they've got,
Yes.
who knows?
That's quite exciting. I mean, obviously, Edo, you're our Serie A expert. We're talking about Conte coming at Chelsea. We're looking at the Batshuayi signing. Can he exist in the same team as Costa?
Conte has generally tried to use two strikers quite a lot, and generally one of them would have been a bit more manoeuvrable. Costa is good in the box, but you wouldn't necessarily want to give him. Well, what was it? Atletico Madrid, he was the kind of player that you would ask to do quite a lot. But I would think that Conte could.
He's used to playing on his own quite a lot.
Yeah, and Batshuayi is used to being the star as well. At Marseille, he was often the only player in attack doing much. Even though he was surrounded by reasonable talents, there was Cabella there for a bit. You had some decent players, but they weren't really producing. Thauvin, even, for example, whilst Batshuayi really was doing a lot of work. I have my doubts about Batshuayi, even though he's a player that I'm in love with, because I'm a big fan of him as a Belgian and as a Ligue 1 player. But no, there's one thing I'll say about Conte. You were talking about the personalities in the dressing room. I think he will actually have that under control for once. This is one Chelsea manager who can come in and tell John Terry to shut up. There are some stories about Conte that are just unbelievable, like basically staging a bollocking of Buffon to get the players motivated, even though Juve had won the league weeks before, they needed to get over the 100-point mark. And Buffon came into the dressing room and talked about player bonuses, and Conte just yelled at him, and this got the players all hyped up. In this completely unnecessary end-of-season game. So I don't know. He's got the mentality. Even this current Italy team, they were rock solid. So
this is all useful to know, because obviously these players are all going to be available from DraftKings. We've got to have a good understanding of talent going in. So it's very, very useful. Right, guys, we've gone from players now. We're moving to the danger zone. We're talking about relegation candidates. Jamie, I want to start with you. Are we all going to agree that Crystal Palace are going to be there or thereabouts?
We'll have a great first half of the season. Once we're almost safe, he'll turn it off, and then we'll get that one win at the end of the season.
So
Jamie, I've been mean to you there. We're going to talk about our own teams individually shortly.
Yeah.
But candidates for relegation, please.
I think it's quite easy. I think Hull almost definitely will go down. Burnley won't buy enough players yet again. I know they've got Gray this time, who scores a lot of goals, and Johan Berg Gudmundsson will be a very good signing for them, especially on DraftKings, because he just takes all the set pieces and crosses the whole time. And I think Sunderland, maybe. I really don't trust Moyes after. I just don't trust him. I don't know what that time he had at Man United was so disastrous. He went to Sociedad. He was awful there as well. I mean, what's he going? Is he just going to buy Fellaini? I don't know for Sunderland. Is this how he's going to save them?
You can't discredit 10 or 11 years solid work at Everton, though.
Well, yeah, but I just don't know.
Proven Premier League manager.
Because that atmosphere at Sunderland has been toxic at times, and Sam got a lot out of some really bad players there, like people like Kabul, who looked awful up until he arrived.
Don't say DeAndre Yedlin.
He's not there anymore, so it's okay. He's back at Spurs, ready to get into the first team.
He's going to do it.
And like Lamine Kone, who didn't really look like doing anything until Allardyce arrived. Defoe, Allardyce arrives, he plays really well. Does Moyes have it in him to have that effect on the players? I don't think so. I think Sunderland, and then if I was going to stick my neck out for another team, possibly Watford, but that's contingent on Ighalo and Deeney not scoring. If they score, they'll stay up.
So we're looking around 4 teams there. We're looking at 2 of the boys that came up.
I think there's plenty more than that. I'm just trying to whittle it down to 3, and those would be my 3. And then,
Burnley, Hull,
and Sunderland.
Edo, 3 teams that worry you.
Incidentally, I'm not actually going to put Sunderland in that bottom 3, but if you want to get a heart attack, go on Wikipedia now and read the squad they have right now. With Jan Vila, they still haven't bought him back. Read the current Sunderland squad. It's absolutely horrifying. It obviously would have been the same squad as last year, but it's somehow even worse.
It's awful.
It is awful. I literally went, they can't possibly go down. Initially, that was my initial sort of thought. Then I went and looked at that squad and went, oh dear God.
Well, for what it's worth, I've been studying pre-season form, and Moyes is 2-0 so far in pre-season. For what it's worth,
I think Pardew's 5-0, unfortunately.
All right. Yeah.
I can always bet Pardew will always better it. Don't you worry.
So Edo, sorry, you're danger free.
I completely agree with regards to Burnley and and Hull. I mean, they're essentially already tyre fires, and I'm quite angry because there's always going to be a few chaff teams in the Premier League, teams that, like Aston Villa, for example, where you go, they're awful, they're absolute. And
Well, this is it. It's always useful to look at teams that were already on the massive decline the previous season. So
Yeah.
Villa last year went down the previous season. They were
Yeah.
bloody awful. So last year, teams that really stank out the second half of the season, well, there's Crystal Palace. And also, let's not forget the FA Cup curse of teams in the last 4 or 5 years that have got losing finalists, shall we say, going down next year. But obviously, I don't do in histrionics. Someone here does, but so we're talking about, yes,
So we've got
Hull, Burnley.
Hull, Burnley, I mean, yeah, no explanation. And I think my third team is a toss-up between West Brom and Bournemouth. But with Bournemouth,
good shout.
Bournemouth, I still have respect for Eddie Howe. I think it's a reasonable squad. But that was the second worst defence in the league last year behind, who was it again? Oh, I can't remember.
Might have been Nas or
Montreal. It was Montreal.
Montreal.
Sorry?
Montreal.
Montreal. But the thing is, yeah, West Brom last year, you thought, oh, with Pulis, they'll be decent. They'll even maybe challenge for like a mid-table place. They came 15th or 16th, and they were generally unimpressive. And they had that Berahino issue, and they've not really added any players in this transfer window that make you think they're going to change things.
Pulis teams are funny though, because just when you're ruling them out, they'll win 1-0 at Man United, or they'll
Right.
beat Tottenham towards the
There's
end.
nothing funny about Pulis, too.
I did not.
No, but-
Actually, no, the 3-3 against Liverpool was very funny.
That was funny.
That was it, though.
But the thing is, how many years have West Brom now been hanging just above that relegation zone?
Always just about
Always
settle the big boys.
the
though,
famous
when they need
Pepe
to.
Mel season when they couldn't replace
Oh, Pepe
Clark
Mel.
for like 6 weeks or whatever it was, and they just completely went down. They went off a cliff, and they still survived. So yeah, and the thing is, Bournemouth. Yeah, I'm not happy that Richie left. Actually, that really annoys me because at least Richie was a good DraftKings player. if nothing
Very,
else.
very, very useful DraftKings player. Right, we have to move on to Andy. Andy, the 3 teams.
Yeah, I agree with Hull and Burnley. I mean, Hull are they're in a ridiculous situation. Well, you could have thought losing Steve Bruce could work to their advantage, but unfortunately the owners are trying to sell the club, so they're not putting any money in. So they're down. Burnley again, they just don't spend any money. I think when they bought one player, they bought him from Charlton.
Yeah, no, they got a double signing from a relegated
Double
championship
signing.
side.
There you go. I don't think Sunderland are going to go down. I think Swansea could be in trouble if they don't add a bit more firepower up there, because it was pretty much Gylfi Sigurdsson and 10 others last season. West Brom or Watford for me are the other one, and I'm going to stick my neck out and go with, if Saido Berahino leaves West Brom, West Brom.
Wow, okay.
Because I just don't think Ricky Lambert and Rondon are going to keep the team up.
No.
It's not enough firepower. And yeah, it's Pulis, but Pulis is all right if there's a lot of other rubbish teams down there. But if everyone else is improving and West Brom don't, West Brom are going to go down. There's a lot of money that's poured into the league, and you've got teams like Middlesbrough can get Negredo and Victor Valdez and really, really improve.
Yeah.
If West Brom looked at Middlesbrough's squad, they go, ooh, yeah, they've got a much better squad than we have, and they've just come up. So I think West Brom in trouble.
All right, so staying on the negative side of the forthcoming season, let's talk about managers to lose a job. Who will be the first manager to lose their job? Let's start with you, Andy. Who do you think it will
Oh, that's tough.
be? It's a horrible question. I'm sorry, I'm duty bound to ask it.
Who's in charge of Watford at the moment?
Matt Sorry.
That
There you
guy.
go.
You reckon?
Matsari. They're trigger happy anyway, so why not Matsari to lose his job first? End of August.
End
of August.
0 goals scored for the first 3 games, right. Christini and Nogalo fellas aren't very good. I'm off.
Edo, yourself, who's a manager that's in the danger zone already?
Quite bizarrely, the Premier League is less trigger happy these days. In 2 of the last 4 seasons, only 2 managers have been sacked between the start of a season and Christmas. That's strange. I was expecting there to be heads rolling, like in 13, 6 guys, jumped ship, or actually walked the plank rather. I would say whoever's managing Hull, essentially, whoever is unlucky enough to pick up that poison chalice, I think that's because I think Burnley will stick with Dyche. They stuck with him when they went down, and they don't seem to like making changes. I think this is a question of making more money and then parachute payments if they go down. Who cares?
And he's brought them up twice. I mean, he's
brought them up
a good
twice.
hand.
Yeah. A controversial one for me could potentially be if things go very wrong at Arsenal. Poisonous atmosphere with the players because Sanchez is furious. The fans are insane. What if like Wenger were at some stage to get fired? It sounds crazy.
It would be very Arsenal to fire Wenger 6 months
they'll
before he actually leaves.
They'll let him stay on for his final.
He'll stay on.
won't they?
Yeah,
Is this definitely his last season? I mean, I know his contract.
Well, he was going to get the England job, wasn't he? And then Big
I
Sam
reckon
came
he'll
and nicked
stay
it.
there. He's not going to get
Yeah, but
He
yeah.
writes his own contract and just signs it himself and then hands it in.
Oh, brilliant.
Handwritten contract.
So anyway,
Staying, love Arsenal. There you go. Okay.
I think it could well be Alan Pardew, but Jamie, who do you think will be the first manager to lose their job?
Antonio Conte. No, it's going to be. I think this is another. It's a controversial one, but because of some stuff that happened last season up at Borough, I think Karanka. If the chairman starts to tell him to play Downing again, which he could well do because he did it last season, and he doesn't like it, he'll just leave. He's not going to stay. Like having got them to the Premier League, I think he could now get another job somewhere else. I don't think it's. So if he just is like, you know what, fuck this, I'm going. I'm not listening to you.
Or is that someone leaving? Steve Gibson's not going to fire him, is he?
Depends. Depends if he doesn't play his nephew.
His nephew's actually quite reasonable.
Yeah, his nephew is good actually.
Yeah.
Sacked. I'd go with Edo, the Hull, whoever's at Hull. Like Palace won't sack Pardew.
No.
That's the I would wholeheartedly, if this was leaving, I'd have him up there because if they start off as badly as they did back in the last season, then yes. But I'm going to go with in terms of like losing a job, it'll be I think Karanka.
Right,
I
interesting.
love that call actually.
Love the prospect of someone losing their job. But
Capitalism.
it's brilliant. Okay, guys. Another question, the surprise package. The surprise package of the Premier League this season. Jamie, I'm going to start with you.
I was actually going to say Palace for this one because I was like, we'll start off really well because we started off so well last season, but I just don't think
Something that could be sustained.
I don't think I can get away with it. You know what? Everton, I think, will have a much better season than they did last year because they've got rid of Martinez. That's enough, really. They could easily finish in the top 7 or 8. They haven't got Europe. They've still got. They need to buy some players, but I mean, they might be getting rid of John Stones. How good's that?
50 million.
Yeah, like come on.
50 million.
You get 50 million for John Stones, you could probably get 150 for Lukaku. So. Then they'll really be laughing.
Personally, I think Stones is a Rolls Royce. He's going to come good, and you got all these.
He may well come good, but
He had
like
a shocker last year. But
Yeah.
I think it was a protest season, which says a lot about his character potentially because he did want to go to Chelsea. And that was blocked. Martinez did a good job blocking that, as did Kenwright at the time. And I think he threw his toys out, but I think he's a hell of a player. Edo, who's the team to watch? Who's the surprise element this season?
Little controversial here. Swansea City, I think, are potential
I like that pick.
surprises. Look at what they've done in the Premier League. There have been a couple of seasons that have been, but they're normally mid-table, 8th, 9th, 11th, 12th. We have a bad memory of them from last season, justifiably so. But if you look at, they still managed to finish 12th. So if they manage something similar, it will be like, oh, how decent have Swansea been, even if they haven't necessarily improved all that much. But you look at the pace they were going at after Guidolin took over, the points average shot up massively. Again, that may not have been the toughest thing in the world, but he was actually getting some good results. His tactics were being questioned at one stage, but he was experimenting. You got the feeling he wanted his players to do something, to do things his way, shall we say. He puts a lot of stock in summer training, you know, the famous summer camp, Retiro. So all of a sudden you look at that squad and you go, well, so you've got Ayew, you've got Gylfi, you've got Cork, who looks really nice, you've got a good centre-back partnership, you know, you've got Ashley Williams, you've got Neil Taylor, you've got a really good goalkeeper in, I think, Fabianski. You need a striker there, effectively, because Gomis has just left for Marseille. This is
I'm not
hot
quite.
news.
I'm not quite sure. I think he'll play Ayew up front.
Or he'll
There
play
are
anywhere.
rumours though. West Ham are coming in for you.
Really?
yeah,
That would be a
there is.
disaster.
Chelsea, yeah.
If they lose him as well, then
That will be bad, yeah.
I wouldn't agree
So
with
mine
you.
is conditional on keeping Ayew and being able to find like a reasonable striker who can net you those goals that you simply didn't get last year. But you know, you've got Modou Barrow who's been looking good. You've got Routledge who is still quite underestimated because he keeps doing it every year. He isn't former Crystal Palace man, incidentally.
Spurs. Fulham, Newcastle.
His career trajectory has been...
Starting off at the very top.
But a lot of respect for what he's done at Swansea, to be honest with you. And yeah, I think
I'm personally interested in Swansea, but I'm not too confident because of the recruitment aspect. So
yeah,
we'd have to see.
That's
We'd
a
have to
good
see,
argument.
and that's be the same as a couple of other teams. Southampton being one of them. Guys, a team that shoots out players every year, but somehow it's a wonderful level of recruitment. They manage to still sustain their position. Andy, the surprise package this season.
Middlesbrough. It could go horribly wrong because Karanka could, I agree with you, if he gets pissed off, he'll go. But I also think Karanka would probably want to see if he can prove himself for one season in the Premier League before because that would raise his stock even further. They brought in Negredo, they brought in Valdez, who are decent European players. Some could say formerly top European players with Premier League experience. I know Negredo hasn't really been firing him in the last few seasons. I think he's 5 last season, 9 the season before. But he's a player with a point to prove. And we saw at City in flashes he could terrorise Premier League defences. He looked good. And as for promoted teams that come up, you've got to have somebody up front. A good focal point up front really helps you stay up. And there is always one team out of the 3 teams that come up that are a surprise package, like Bournemouth were last season. And it's not going to be Burnley or Hull. So
It's going to have to be Borough.
it has to be Borough. And you know what? I'm glad they're back. I never liked Borough when they were in the Premier League before. They always used to kind of stink the place out a bit. But you don't know how much you've missed someone till they're gone. And when they come back, it's like, oh, welcome back, guys.
Have you ever been
Borough back.
I have always, as a child of the 70s and 80s, I've always thought that about Coventry City and Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, I want them back.
We need them back in the top division.
Have you ever been to Middlesbrough, though?
Yeah, my sister went to
Is it
Teesside
alright?
Polytechnic.
I've never been.
It'll be one of my away days of the week next season.
Of the week?
Yeah.
How many are you going to?
Oh yeah, no, everybody at home, yes, that will be a regular feature in the coming season. Andy Davies' away day of the week, where we don't just learn about how certain teams are doing and how we think they'll do, but also a little bit of their cultural background.
Middle, for example, we've got Teesside Airport. It's a great airport. We've got a lovely leisure centre nearby as well. It's good.
Chicken Parmo.
Yeah.
Okay, before we move on to our final section, guys, West Ham moved to the Olympic Stadium this season. That's a big deal. I'm not a West Ham fan at all, but no one's mentioned them. Have they got the capacity to finish top 8 again like last year? What do you say, Edo?
Absolutely, yeah, I think so.
That's a yes,
Yeah,
Andy?
top 8, but
Yeah.
no further than that.
No further than that?
They're kind of like the best of the rest, aren't they, West Ham? I think. But they've got loads and loads of injuries to start off the season, and they don't have a left back, so that could, after 10 games, it might be in the bottom 6. So
It's going to be really weird for moving into that stadium as well. Because it's not like when Arsenal left Highbury and moved to the Emirates. Highbury wasn't a feared stadium. It wasn't a place where the crowd got behind the team. Its nickname was the Library, so they weren't relying on atmosphere. And I'm not just having a pop at Arsenal. I mean, City suffered a little bit when they left Main Road as well. But I think particularly for West Ham, as someone who's been there myself, the atmosphere there was incredible. It's always good. Yeah. It's one of those grounds, it's close to the pitch. I mean, I think Spurs are going to suffer when we leave White Hart Lane for the same reason. The Olympic Stadium is a very big ground. They've got to fill it. It's going to be a lot of tourists in there because West Ham don't have 60,000 fans that are going to turn up week in, week out and support the team. So I think they're going to struggle at the Olympic Stadium. I think they might have one of those seasons where they really, really, really look forward to the away days.
Yeah, it could
I
well
think
be.
the thing with Spurs, this stadium is that it will actually be a football ground, whereas this is just an athletic stadium.
It's true. They are building Spurs to the similar spec to White Hart Lane, and as much as they want the stand as close to the pitch as possible. So there is that.
Right, the final element of this show then, guys, we're going to be talking about our individual teams. Edo, you're a Chelsea fan. I'm a Chelsea fan. You're going to do a lot of speaking for me, I hope. How is Chelsea going to do this season?
Yeah, I have them coming top 4 because I really believe in Antonio Conte. Because you look at Juventus, his first season he took over, he won the title when the team really didn't. Apart from the defence and certain midfield elements and Buffon, there wasn't really a heck of a lot there. So that was a surprise. They'll be very hard to beat, I think, although I was wishing for an extra defender because you look at that defence right now and you worry. You're very worried and you were saying, well, why, Conte, good to have him, I guess, but because Matic really hasn't been the same since he got injured against Burnley all those months ago. But you'd have liked to have another central defender because Cahill doesn't necessarily guarantee anything. Ivanovic keeps getting out a run on the right, so I'd have liked to see someone else. Maybe obviously you sent Nathan Aki on loan to Bournemouth, but you'd have liked to have another young player maybe to throw in, throw him into the frying pan and see what he could do.
Yeah,
but
I was curious that we let Aki go again, actually.
Yeah, give him a chance at least. And not necessarily him. There's loads of players who could have, had that. The attack as well, I worry about Costa and Batshuayi. I actually think Batshuayi may struggle in his first season because he reminds me of a lot of Origi, of Benteke, and of Lukaku. They all struggled when they first got to the Premier League. I think he will become something special, but it will take him time. His technique, for example, does not impress me particularly. And
most famously as well, the last big player we got from Marseille was Didier Drogba, and he didn't have a brilliant season personally in his first season, although Chelsea obviously did win the league and the League Cup.
Yeah. Or his second one. It was his third season when he truly came out as Didier Drogba, the man, the legend. Before then he was trying hard, but you could see there was something missing. I think Batshuayi may have the same thing. I hope we don't loan him out. But this may be a bit of a transitional season for Chelsea.
No, I think £32 million in loaning out would be, even for Chelsea.
How much did Lukaku cost us initially? It was
18.
It was 18.
That's probably what 32 is now, I guess.
But it's true, actually.
It probably is.
I mean, Xhaka cost you 45, and I think the world of that player, but 45 million.
How much was Gonzalo Higuain?
90 million euros.
90 million.
75, 78?
So we can almost get two Zinedine Zidanes for that.
That's for a 28-year-old player.
Okay, so we're all in agreement. The transfer market has finally gone bananas. Jamie, Crystal Palace, talk to us about it.
I think the thing is, I was looking at the league the other day, and I was like, what would success be for a team like Palace? And I think now it's like the amount of teams that are in the top 10 now that are almost secured in there. If we were to get 9th or 10th, that'd be a huge success for us. Like, I'm really not even trying to be like unoptimistic about it at all. I just think it would be. We're another team that needs a centre forward. We've got, at the moment, it's Wickham and Campbell. Campbell won't get a look in, so it's basically Connor Wickham, who spends half his life injured or suspended. So that worries me a bit. Although when he plays, I really like him. I think he exactly suits our team so well. We've retooled elsewhere to a certain extent. I think James Tompkins is a really solid signing, and Mandanda is better than Hennessy. So we have upgraded, but it's still, as we were saying earlier, Andros Townsend's another winger who you wouldn't back your house on putting a cross in that's going to get on someone's head. And Connor Wickham is good at heading, so you need people that are going to be able to cross it and get it in. Zaha I think got 1 assist last season. Balassi got 3, I think. It's not a lot.
Overall, your recruitment this summer, is it?
I think it's been I think if you were at school, it would probably be a B- maybe. We've definitely upgraded where we needed to. We need a striker. And if it was me, I'd just pay the money for Benteke. We're going to get loads of TV money next season if we stay up anyway. Even if we go down, make sure you put some clauses in there. Sign him. He'll score 20 goals. It's an easy one. He isn't just a header of the ball. And we could even play Wickham out wide. He can play out wide. He's not as slow. He's a big striker, but he's not slow. And he played out wide for Sunderland. And I'd hazard a guess that he can probably put a ball in better than a lot of our wingers. And it would also give him a kick up the backside to say, you know what, you can, Zaha Balassi, you can be dropped. You're not undroppable, which is also why I really like signing Townsend. I think we'll start off, I think it'll be the same as last season. We'll start off really well. We'll get a cup run in January and it'll all go to pot, but we'll probably come, realistically,
Generally, you're excited.
Yeah, I am excited. I'm excited to see our new players. I've got a season ticket this season as well, so I'm very excited.
But you're saying then, hopefully you're all right.
Yeah, we'll definitely.
Finally, your good self. You support Tottenham Hotspur. Tell us all about your feelings about your club in this last season at White Hart Lane. Is it the last season there?
It's the last season at White Hart Lane.
Exciting times.
Until we knock White Hart Lane down and rebuild White Hart Lane. So we're not moving to a different borough or anything like that, which is nice. I'm really excited about this season. We're a club that's, for years and years and years, just sort of clutching at straws every summer, trying to look at what other teams were doing and copying them, not really seeming to have any kind of game plan or existing in the realm of joined up thinking. But this summer, and as last summer as well, it seems to be that nothing controversially bad is going wrong. All the players are staying. They've identified the same positions that the fans identified that we needed strengthening, which was a good sort of solid defensive midfield player to cover Dyer and when Dembele gets 4-match suspension at the end of the season. We needed somebody to take the burden off of Harry Kane because he played every minute of the last 900 games or something ridiculous, which is why he was so awful at the Euros, because we broke him. And we want to see some more young players getting promoted from the youth team that we've invested so heavily in, and that's happened. We've got a young lad called Marcus Edwards who's just joined the first team squad. Cameron Carter-Vickers is going to come through as well. I think Adam Ball as well. We got back from he was on loan. And Harry Winks as well is another one. I just keep now naming players that you probably won't even hear of during the course of the season.
It feels like you're making them up at this point.
Yeah. Harry Winks does sound like he sounds like an associate of the Richardsons in the early 60s.
Yes, he does.
But he's one of the midfielders that we haven't that was in the first team squad last season that we haven't got rid of. And he's getting rid of some of the fringe players that weren't going to make it, like Pritchard, and he's got rid of Bentalab's going. I think Bentalab has actually always declared he's not going to play football again unless we sell him. Ever. Yeah, he's completely hates Tottenham Hotspur right now.
Oh,
we don't really like him anymore either, because apparently he's got a dreadful attitude. But that's just rumours. I just think that if it was a 38-game season, I would be tipping us for a tilt of the title, because we do have possibly the best spine in the league, from Lloris up through the defenders in the midfield up to the centre forwards. Consistently through the side, I think we've got the best in the league. But I just think the squad isn't big enough to cope with the rigours of a full season. But in 2 weeks' time, we could sign an extra 2 players, then it would give me more confidence. But I just think at this moment, we are fifth.
This is it. I mean, it's...
But that's, I think, what...
The transfer window doesn't close until the last day of August.
No, right? I also think last season for Spurs, we punched well above our weight. We had a much better season than anyone expected us to. I think the general expectation of Tottenham and a Spurs fan is we want to be top 6. We like seeing another young player come through. We liked it when Bentalab came through. We liked it when Harry Kane came through. We loved it. We loved seeing Dele Alli last season. So let's try that again. Our transfer policy isn't let's go and splurge 100 million of TV money on Paul Pogba. We're not going to make those statement signings anymore. So you don't really know how good the signings are going to be either, because we have a limit of 15 to 20 million. We're not spending any more than that on anybody. They've got to be young. They've got to have sell-on value. So we're always a slightly kind of. I don't know. I can never expect anything from Spurs at the start of the season, except top 6. We will be top 6. Anything on top of that, I will always be slightly surprised by, because I'm a pessimistic Spurs fan, and I've been a Spurs fan for 35 years, and it kills me.
Right. Well, I think we can all safely say this. This is the most unpredictable, I think, and definitely the most exciting Premier League season yet. I mean, we say this at the start of every season, but for sheer recruitment, the money that's come in, the superstar DJ level of managers, when you consider your Klopps, Mourinho's, your Peps, your Contes, you've got superstars like Pochettino as well, and Alan Pardew. Exciting times ahead, and the money.
P-Dog.
Oh, P-Dog.
P-Dog.
Very, very exciting
Leopard.
times. This season is going to be absolutely phenomenal. None of us can actually really agree on who's going to win the thing or who's going to be the concrete top 4. So many underdogs there. Who knows? I'm excited. One thing's for sure. DraftKings is here. It's back. It's going to be bigger than ever. Make sure you're involved, everybody. You know you can win big every single week on the English Premier League. Welcome to the big time. Thanks a lot.